Good morning. Today we're going to be taking a look at how we can connect to a web page and read the text out of it using just straight Java. And this is not necessarily actually the best way to go, but in case you want to learn the actual details of what happens behind the scenes, this is how we can connect to a web page and actually read the information from it using just stuff that's built into the Java library. So obviously, of course, we have to do our imports first. And so in imports, we start off with java.io.io exception because we have errors that could happen with input and output. We also have to have a malformed URL exception from java.net and as well as a URL. In javax.net, because it's added later because SSL wasn't created when we first had java.net. So we have javax.net.ssl.https URL connection, as well as the java.io library, BufferedReader and InputStream reader. Those are the pieces we have to import before we can get started. As I've said before, I like to import the things manually so we can see what I'm actually working with when I'm doing videos. You could, of course, replace things with a .star, but this way you can see exactly what you have to do and what we're using as part of the project. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual method we're working with. So we can see right here we have our method public static string read web page Java passing a string address. And so this is a different version from what we're doing above with using the JSoup one that you saw in probably another video. The first thing we have to do, of course, is we have to initialize our page contents to be an empty string because, hey, we've got a return variable. Let's initialize it so we can use it. Good stuff. Then, as you can see, we have a set of nested try blocks. The outermost try block is dealing with the actual connection itself, and the innermost try block is handling the actual reading of the data. So taking a look at the outer try block first, we first check to make sure, do we have https:// as the 0 spot of our index? The reason we have to make sure that's the first thing inside our string address is we have to make sure the protocol matches. And basically everything is going to be HTTPS anyway, so don't worry about using HTTP connection, using HTTPS URL connection, because secure websites are the ones you should be working with anyway. So that's where we're starting with that specifically. So we want to make sure that the index of that is 0. If it's not 0, we'll throw that new malformed URL exception saying HTTPS is needed. Once we've bypassed that, we're then going to make a new URL passing it the address that we supplied as a parameter, and we'll then create a connection from that. So we'll say page URL.open connection, which creates a connection. We'll then cast that result as an HTTPS URL connection because it is a subclass, different package, but same subclass. And so we'll create that page connection, and then we will connect to that connection. So that's what we're doing right there. We're just creating a URL connection from that and then connecting to it. So the first part creates the connection object, and then the .connect line actually makes the connection to that web page. Then we have our innermost try block, which is the try with resources. Again, try with resources are double thumbs up good because it actually handles the closing of things, and so it makes sure things close appropriately, avoiding man-in-the-middle type attacks, as well as providing us to have good code. So we want to make sure we use that. So we're going to try and create a buffered reader named PageReader, creative name, I know, which is a new buffered reader, and that's initialized from the contents of a new InputStream reader, which we initialized from the page connection we just made's InputStream. So we're going to grab the InputStream from this of the web page, assign that to an InputStream reader so it can convert bytes into text, and then we'll take that text information and send that to a buffered reader so we can read through that as it comes through the actual stream. Good stuff all around. Inside the try block, we initialize our page line variable by pageleader.readLine. So we're going to read one line of text from the stream at once. And so that buffered reader is going to read a line at a time. And as long as that line is not null, we're going to make a loop so we can iterate over that over and over again and grab the stuff out of it. And so if we want to get a clean stuff, we use this .replace all, passing it the regex expression of less than symbol, square bracket, caret, greater than symbol, closing square bracket, asterisk, and then a greater than symbol again, which is going to try and find all the angle brackets inside that and anything that's inside it as well. And we're just going to replace it with a blank string because we want to get rid of all the tags out of that. Otherwise, we get just lots and lots of tag information. And I'll show that as a result when we do this. Then we trim out any empty space that's out of that line, so it could be nothing at that point. If my resulting line is greater than 0, then it's totally okay to put that inside my document. So I'll say page contents plus equals the page line. If I have a 0 length line, I'm not going to add that. So cool. Finally, I say page line is equal to pageReader.readLine because, again, the last line of the while loop should always be the update call to actually go through and put that back in. So this loop will repeat as long as there's contents of the stream. Once the stream returns null, then I exit my loop. I then close my connection to that web page, right there at the disconnect call, and I'm out of my try block. Now, my try block has catch blocks, of course, that are attached to it. My innermost catch block is, hey, maybe there's a problem reading that web page. If so, then I'm going to throw an IO exception. And so the contents of that address were not read, sad kitty face. And then here's the inner input error, describing where it comes from in the code so it helps you, the programmer. And then the input error.getMessage. My outer try block, the one that's going to the connection itself, I have a malformed URL exception, which means I can't actually handle the URL information, or I have an IO exception. There's a problem with the actual connection. I can't connect to the web page. And so those are handled by those exceptions right there. So I handle my two different exceptions by using two separate catch blocks. Remember, the catch blocks are executed in order of what you see first, and so you want to make sure you start with the most specific value and then you work your way down to more general as you go through that. And that's why I'm starting with malformed URL and then working with just general IO exception to handle those information. And so we then return our page contents at the very end. So it's a lot of code just to simply read that. So if I run that same code right here and hit play, the contents of address empty were not read, sad face, URL error, HTTPS is needed. Okay, cool. So we'll go to our controller and let's give a web address. So say www.kahoot.com. And I run that page right here and boom. And I'm gonna get a lovely error message that, oh, I don't have HTTPS because I didn't put HTTPS in there. Okay, so I'll put HTTPS in that, and HTTPS colon whack whack, and then Kahoot.com, running that lovely information. And we now have a connection right here where I'm going to get the contents of address HTTPS Kahoot.com are not read. So return to 403 for that URL. So, oh, that doesn't have, it's not a valid URL. So it's a valid site, but that's not the actual thing to go to. Oh, cool, so I can get information from that. So I get that 403 error information that's having to do with that. If I change that to wikipedia.org right here, wikipedia.org, and I run that query, and I get Wikipedia document element class name equals document blah blah blah. This is not nearly as clean as what we saw with the JSoup. But let's take a look at what happens if I don't even use that information. So if I go to my controller and I actually don't clean the HTML out of it, it's going to be even less helpful information. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to comment these two lines right here and comment this line right here to close off that squiggle. So I'm just going to say page contents plus equals the page line and then go to the next line. So I'm going to do all of my cleanup on that and rerun that same query right here. And instead of getting the Wikipedia's text information, I'm going to get their HTML information. I'll get the full text document, which might be good for some good web script information, like if you're looking for background HTML information, but you can get that out of JSoup as well. But as you can see right here, it returns the full thing right there. And so that's how we can actually go through and process a web page using Java and only Java to make that happen. Now, it's not the best way to do it, so you can clean it up by using a regex expression to handle that by cleaning that out with the lovely blurb right there and replacing it with a blank string. But not the best choice. The best choice is to use a cool library, something like, say, for example, JSoup, where you can actually clean out the information, use the DOM model to get the appropriate information out of your web page. Hope this is helpful. Cheers. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye-bye.